Hey guys, welcome to my review of my 2018 Volkswagen Golf R. So I thought we'd have a little fun today and actually do a little comparison, a little scoring system between my new Golf R and my 2016 BMW M4. It just so happens that the Golf R happens to be almost exactly half the price of the M4. So since these are both the top of the line performance cars for both manufacturers, I thought it'd be fun to see do you really get the same amount for your money without paying the high price of the BMW. So we're going to do a little scoring system at the end and add everything up and see what we get. But anyway, here is my Golf R. This is the 7th generation Golf, and if you're not familiar with Golfs, basically they have a couple different lines. You have a base Golf, they have the GTI line, and then they have the R line, which is the top of the line performance model. So the one thing about Volkswagens is that you really don't have a lot of choices as far as options go. You have to buy the trim levels for the options that are in those trim levels. So if you want some special option and it's not in one of the trim levels, you don't have a choice. You have to buy the next model up. The Golf R's, of course, are the top of the line, so they have pretty much every option that Volkswagen offers on them. And in addition to that, they have one feature that none of them other Golfs have, which is they have 4Motion, which is Volkswagen's all-wheel drive system. So the Golfs we're in the 7th generation of the Golfs. They've been around a long time, and this is actually a 7.5. So for 2018, they did a mid-cycle refresh on the car, and basically that's some new features, some body refinements, etc. And they do that sort of mid-cycle in the model lineup, so that when the next gen comes out, it'll be a completely brand new design. So for right now, it's the 7.5, which is the 2018s. The 2019s will also be 7.5s, and then in 2020 is when we'll see the Golf Mark 8s. So the Mark is the internal name that Volkswagen uses for their cars. So this is a Mark 7.5, and the Mark 8s will be out in 2020, and they're supposed to have a completely body redesign, bigger engine, the whole deal. But for now, these are the 2018s. So the thing about the Golf R's are that they are also, just like the M4s, a limited production vehicle, and they can be hard to get depending on the color combination and transmission that you want. Pretty much everything is standard on them. You can't really, there's no options to get on them. They pretty much come fully loaded with everything. The color, the exterior color, and the transmission, whether you want manual or the dual shift gearbox, are really your only two choices. They are limited production though, and Volkswagen only makes so many of them, and they just ship them to the dealers based on their allotments, so you can't really order one, which is kind of a pain. So to try to find the color that you want, in my case it's lapis blue, and I wanted the DSG, the dual shift gearbox transmission. So to get that combination took me a while to find it, and I decided to pick this up because of the possible tariffs that are going to be happening on cars imported into the US, especially German cars. And they're talking about a 25% tariff. So I've been looking for one for a while, and one just happened to come in at a local dealer in the right color combination. The blue is probably the hardest one to find. The Tornado Red is probably the second hardest. And then the black, whites, and silvers are much easier to find, especially if you want a fully manual transmission. But other than that, everything is standard. The interior, you don't have a choice. It's black leather, special R design interior. And the only other options you can possibly get are things like extra cargo mats for the rear and things like that, but nothing on the car itself. Everything is pretty much standard. So let's start with the exterior of the car. Okay, like I said, it's lapis blue. The R's do come with the 19-inch wheels by default. These are called Englishtown wheels, and they are the sort of the new pinwheel design. I was sort of like up in the air about the design, but it's starting to grow on me now. They do look good on the car just because of their size. Has low profile tires on it. So these are Continental Conti Sport contact tires. And you can see it's four-wheel disc brakes. They do not have the R logo on the disc brake caliper on the rears, but if you look on the fronts, you can see the R logo is on there. So the BMW M4 has it on all fours. This one just has it on the fronts. You do have the R sort of badge on the side there. Now these are four-door cars. Volkswagen stopped making two-door Golfs a couple years ago, so you can't get a two-door anymore, which is unfortunate. The M's you can get either a four-door, two-door convertible, so that is one thing that you're able to get on the M's that you can't get on the Golfs. It is all LED tail lights on the back, and it does have quad tip exhausts. They've got this sort of cool diffuser on the back here. It's gloss black, which is kind of nice. Sets it off. That's nothing that that they have on the GTIs or the regular Golfs. This is special for the Golf R. The rear bumper is kind of unique on these cars, just the shape of it. And then they have a rear built-in spoiler, and they have these little sort of side spoilers going down here. On the front of the car, we have full LED adaptive headlights. So just like the BMW, they are full LEDs. They're adaptive, so they move. They have cornering lights, so when you're going around a corner, you basically get the corner lit up as you're going through it, so that's kind of nice. I do like that feature. And just like the BMW, there's cooling, different radiators inside the grills here. It's not just the one for the engine, there's one for the intercoolers, turbo, etc. So same design. No fog lights, obviously, because they are taking up the room. The radiators are taking up the room on that portion of it. If you're familiar with the Golfs, the GTI lines, this strip across here would normally be red in the GTIs, and it runs through the headlights red, but on the Rs they use a silver instead of red as their contrasting sort of trim line. So that's also on the interior of the car, just like on the GTIs. The red stitching would be contrasting with the black leather. In this case, it's silver on the inside, and it's silver here on the front, and then through the headlights too. So that's pretty much all the same. They do have some nice sharp hood lines here, which look really good on the car. And the Rs do not come with sunroof or moonroofs, so you can only get the solid roof on the Rs. Just a couple of things on the exterior. Obviously, on the sides here, they have this nice gloss black rocker trim at the bottom here, which looks really good. And then on the front of the car, they sort of have these little side pieces, again, gloss black trim. Of course, you have the R logo on the front here, and there's one on the back. And that's pretty much it. It's a very understated car. It doesn't really tell you what it is. It just has this R logo, and that's pretty much it. So it's kind of like a sleeper car, where it's really just a car that looks very ordinary, but it has the power underneath it to kind of like surprise you. The other thing I want you to notice is on the refresh, what they did is down here in the bottom, they used to have this big cutout of the radar sensor used to be down here, the transponder, and basically they've moved that now for the 2018s inside the VW logo. So instead of having this big ugly cutout in the bottom now, it's behind the VW logo, and that is actually the radar sensor that they use for all the safety systems like the collision mitigation and all that kind of stuff. You still have the park distance sensors in the front here, just like on any other car. It does have heated washer nozzles, and then of course heated mirrors, and you can see they have the turn signal inside the mirror there. And then you have all your little displays inside the mirror here to show you if you know, somebody's in your blind spot, etc. The only thing this doesn't have that's kind of a miss on it is these are not power folding mirrors. So you can fold them manually, but the BMW has power folding mirrors, which I kind of like, because when I pull into the garage I like folding the mirrors to make sure I don't hit the wall, just because I have a tight space in the garage. One thing that's kind of cool on the Volkswagens is obviously this is the hatch release. You just push it in and it comes up and opens the hatch. But also the little rear view camera actually pops out of here when you are going in reverse. So when you put it in reverse, this opens up, a little camera pops out, and that's how you get the rear view in the dash display when you're reversing. Again, LED tail lights, everything's LED on the car. So that's pretty much the exterior of the car. Okay, so let's check out the interior of the car. Now, it does have comfort access, just like the BMW has. So to lock the car, you just touch the handle and the car is locked. To unlock it, you just touch it on the inside, and then when you touch it on the inside, it unlocks the car. Again, it's just as long as you have the key fob in your pocket or close by, then it'll auto lock and unlock. Same as the BMW pretty much, so that system's pretty much the same. On the inside of the car, it does have special seats for the R's. So these are black with silver piping going around them, and it does have the R logo on the back. They're also a perforated leather seat. And then you can see the on the passenger side here, we have the glove box. It does have some trim here that is sort of like carbon fiber. It's a fake carbon fiber. So the BMW has real carbon fiber, so that's a little bit of a downgrade for the Golf. Same thing on the door panels. It has a simulated carbon fiber here with a little trim piece. Now, one thing about the R's is that you can't get any other interior besides this. So that's one up on the BMW, because obviously you can pick different color leathers and different style leathers on the M cars. So we'll get into all the electronics and the dash and everything, but basically that's the center console. There is a little cubby here for cup holders. About the same size cup holders that are on the M, so that's about the same. And then you have the dual shift gearbox transmission there. Auto climate control, so same as the BMW, but this does have the sync button, which the BMW does not, so that's a plus for the Golf. And then you have heated seats, just like the BMW, and then you have the infotainment system, which we'll get into that whole system later on, comparing it to BMW's iDrive system. Again, because it's sort of like comfort access, has start and stop engine button. You have your different driving modes. You have auto shut off, on and off, and then park assist, and then of course you in this case you have these two buttons, auto hold, and this is the parking brake. So there's no lever for the parking brake. It's electronic parking brake, which is really nice. We'll get into that and how that works, but that is a plus on the Golf. There's a 12-volt outlet here, and then back here we got a little cubby just to put some stuff in, little armrest. And this is sort of a ratcheting armrest, so you can actually just go up a little bit and then it holds it right there as you go up a little bit, and then you go all the way up and then it'll put it back down. So you can adjust the actual height of the armrest too if you wanted to. If we look in the glove box here, there's a bunch of stuff going on here. We've got slots for SD cards that you can store in here. There's the changer there for loading the maps, like CDs and stuff like that. You can see you can put SD cards in here if you want to put your music on SD cards. A little storage for credit cards and coins and things like that in the glove box. It also has the knob here for the cooling. So if you want to keep your glove box cool with the air conditioning, if you have something, a sandwich in there or something like that, it'll also store all that. There's no lock on the glove box, so that is a little bit of a miss, because if you're valeting your car, you can't stop somebody from going into your glove box. On the doors, they have pretty good size storage here on the pockets. You can fit like a full liter bottle of soda there, and just other various stuff in there. Obviously that's just the door lock button. Otherwise that's pretty plain. Now on the Golf R's, this is sort of a a plastic door panel, plastic simulated leather type of thing. On the BMW, of course, it's completely all leather all over the place, so that's a huge difference between the actual materials used in the inside of the car. If we go to the back here, you can see we've got same basic door panel, and then in the back, these are the rear seats. Same silver piping going down it. They do fold, so it's a 60/40 fold. And this is one of the big things about the Golf, is the huge amount of space you get when you put the seats down. So just an incredible amount of cargo room. The other thing that this Golf has is, if you pull down, it has a center armrest. So if you only have 2 people in the back, you get this nice armrest, and it has cup holders in it, which is really nice, and they're adjustable. So you can see here, these little things just sort of pop out, and you can slide them in different positions to give different size cup holders. BMW does not have this. They don't have any drop down here, and they don't even have cup holders in the back. They just have like a little cubby in the seat bottom here that you actually can only fit 2 people in the back. You can't put a third person because of the cubby, and I don't know why they did that, or they don't have cup holders, but they don't. And then there's a pass through here that you can open up. So pull this open right here, then you can actually, without putting the seats down, if you had passengers, you can have a pass through that goes through to the front if you had something long like skis or something like that that you were putting through. And the other thing in the back here is you do have some vents here for temperature. Excuse me, not temperature, but for the AC and the heat. And you have a flow control here, but you do not have temperature control, which the BMW does have temperature control for the rear passengers. This one does not. The leather it's not bad, it's nice. It's definitely not as soft as the BMW's leather, for sure. But it's not bad. And the other thing is, it doesn't cover every seating part of the seating surfaces. So to save money, I guess Volkswagen, if you can see here on the inner part that you can't really see, they use some kind of a cloth material on the sides there. So they're saving money on some of the leather pieces. The outer portion does have leather, but the inner portion does not. But the seats actually are awesome. They really hold you well. They have nice high bolsters on the side here, and they are really comfortable. They are not hard at all. They're really nice and soft, but they hold you in place, and just really well designed. So I do like the seats a lot. I actually might like them just a little bit better than the M, because the M's are, as far as like comfort, a little bit harder. The leather is soft in the M, but the seats are a little bit harder. So these seats are really, really nice in this car. On the driver's side here, same thing as far as the door, except of course you have window control for all 4 windows, and you can lock out the windows, and of course then you have the mirror control left to right, and then also the heat option if you needed to heat them in the winter time. There is a little light right here, so that is the when the car is locked and the alarm is on, then the little red light will be blinking. This is pretty standard on Volkswagens. They've had this for years. Usually it's in the back here on the rear of the door, but in this case on the R's they have it on the front now. If we go in the car here, on the driver's side, this is the digital cockpit. So this is only available on the R models. You cannot get this on the GTIs or the regular Golf. It's a full TFT display. There's no mechanical gauges in here at all. And we'll go over all that because you can make all kinds of changes and set it up exactly the way you want it. It's really nice. I like it a lot. The M has sort of a combination of mechanical gauges and digital TFT sort of mixed together on the same display. But this is completely 100% TFT display. On the left here, there's a little cubby, which is kind of nice. So if there's something small you can store in there. And then of course you have the auto headlights here and the manual headlight control if you want to turn on the headlights. And then there's the switch here, the roll switch to adjust the interior lighting, so make it brighter or dimmer. Of course you have the regular vent controls here and the flow control. Same thing in the center here. Vent and flow controls, that's pretty standard. The infotainment display we'll get into, that is there's a ton of stuff in there that we'll have to go over. And then of course we have the standard automatic climate control. So you can set your temperature. It will display on the 2 sides here. You have AC, max AC, front windshield. You've got the rear defroster, and then you can of course direct your flow control there. Like I said, it is 4-motion, so it's all-wheel drive, so they have this little 4-motion thing right here. And then underneath here, if we open this little cubby here, there's some storage space here, and I don't know if you can see it there, but there's a USB port and a auxiliary port that you can plug your phone or your iPod or whatever into. The only thing I will say is there's only one USB port in this entire car, which in my opinion is sort of a miss, because at this point with technology most people have multiple USB devices, so it'd be nice to have a couple of them, but it only has one. So again, not a ton of storage space, about equal to the M. Same thing with the cup holders. You can't fit gigantic cups here, and they're pretty much one size, and that's the same thing on the M. So automatic dimming chromatic mirror, that's included in the package. And of course on the back of the mirror it has some sensors that it uses for some of the different mitigation systems, etc. Plus on the base of the mirror that's on the windshield itself, there's cameras that are pointing to the front on the outside. But the one thing that's missing from this mirror is it does not have HomeLink on it. So usually on the bottom here you'd have 3 buttons for HomeLink, so you could program your garage door opener. That way when you pull in you can open your garage door, and then when the car's off nobody can open it because the power's off. They don't include it on any VWs, and so in order to get HomeLink you actually have to replace this very expensive mirror, which has all this technology in it already, in order to get these 3 buttons. So it's like $400 from the dealership to get a brand new mirror swapped out and replaced, and then you have this old mirror that, you know, what are you supposed to do with? So you can't buy this option when you get the car. It's always an after sale dealer add-on on the car, so that's kind of a miss. So I'm not sure why Volkswagen does that, but I may actually put in my old HomeLink, just a button. I got one for the Rabbit, and I might actually just put it down here in the console in this little area right here where you can't really fit anything anyway, and then I can save all that money and don't have to spend $400 on a brand new mirror. So that's kind of a miss. So The M has the home link built into the mirror by default. So on the top here we have a sunglass holder, which I love. I wish the BMW had it. I don't know why it doesn't. It has a solid roof also, so there's room for it, so I'm not sure why they didn't put it, but this one does have it. And then you have your SOS and roadside assistance buttons up here, and then you have your controls right here for your map lights and the interior lights. The mirrors basically are, you know, they have the little light at the top that lights up when you open up the mirrors. They also have this little thing for like toll tickets, but nobody uses toll tickets anymore. I mean, everybody pretty much is on Easy Pass, so. But if you had a piece of paper you just needed to put there a note or something, you could slide it in real quick. It does have grab handles on both sides, so they have it on all 4 doors. And then on the front here, you can see the two of the speakers that are built into the A pillars right here. So this is the Fender audio system. We'll go over the audio system later, but I was really impressed with this system. I'm so surprised at how good it is. I was expecting to have to upgrade the speakers, but I'm not going to have to on this car. The sound system is awesome. So you have the 2 in the front there. They've got the ones in the doors, and there's ones in the back in the doors too. And in the trunk, there's actually a huge subwoofer back there, which I will show you in a second. Okay, so as far as the seats go, it does have the driver's side is a full power seat. You have lumbar control here, so lumbar up and down, in and out. You have back and forward, you have up and down, and you have tilt the bottom forward and back. And then of course you have the seat back tilting back and forward. So pretty much full control on the driver's side for the power seat. Now on the passenger side, they got ripped off. So unlike the M, which is full power on both sides with all the same controls, Volkswagen sort of cheapened out on the passenger side, and you've got manual control for the up and down of the seat here. You've got the regular latch here to go forward and back, and you can't tilt the seat bottom forward or back or anything like that. The one piece they did give you is they did give you a power control for the seat back. So I guess that's something. At least most people get in if they want to adjust the angle of the seat back. At least they'll have that little button right there. But for the price of this car, and you know, being the top of the line car in the Golf line, there's really no excuse for not having full power on this side for the passenger seat. So before we leave the interior, just a couple notes. I do like this gloss black trim that they have around here, although we'll see how it holds up over time, you know, because gloss black a lot of times will show scratches when you're after cleaning and stuff like that. So we'll see how that holds up. But if you're careful and you use like you make sure that you don't do a dry cloth over it. You're always using some kind of a water or liquid on the cloth before you wipe it down. It should be okay. But they do use this gloss black trim around everything. It looks really good once it's clean. But of course, when you touch it, your fingerprints get all over it. But they have it around all the trim, like the vents and everything like that. So pretty nice. The other thing is the mirror here. So I don't know if you can see it here, but on the back of the mirror, there is the cameras. So just like the BMW, there's cameras that are pointing out to the front to do all the different things, like the collision mitigation and things like that. So all that's pretty much the same. Oh, let's go talk about the steering wheel for a second. Okay, so let's talk about the steering wheel for a second. So you have the one stalk on the side here is obviously for the turn signals and also for high beam control. So you can do it manually if you want to. There's also a button on the side here, so if you push that, it'll turn on the automatic high beam control. That has to be turned on every time you start the car. It's the same way with the BMW, so pretty much you set it once you get in the car and then you're good to go during your entire drive. On the right hand side here is the wiper control here. So again, you can manually control the wipers. You have off, intermittent, low, and high. And then you have this little lever here that you can control the sensitivity But the thing about it is if you leave it on intermittent, then the automatic rain sensing wipers are always active. So even if you put it on an intermittent, if there's no rain, if it's a sunny day, nothing's going to happen. But the second you get any water on the windshield or it needs to wipe, then it would automatically do it. And again, you can control the sensitivity with that little lever. That's nice, a little bit nicer. The M requires that every time you get into the car, you push a button on the stalk, just like you kind of did on this side, to activate rain sensing wipers. And then you're good for the entire trip until you shut the car off and then restart it again. This one, you can leave it in the intermittent position and it's always ready to go at any time. So that is kind of nice. I wish BMW had done that on theirs, actually. There's the paddle shifters right here. We have the plus and the minus. So this works exactly the same way as the dual clutch transmission on the M4. Again, it's much nicer than a lot of cars where you have to decide whether to push forward or back. These are just simple. It's always pulling towards you, and it's either upshifting or downshifting on each side. So you don't get confused on the sides. You don't have to think, should I push forward? Should I push back? They're specific for their function. This has the R steering wheel, which is really cool. It has this beautiful gloss black trim, has the R logo on it. It's a really nice steering wheel. It's not huge. It's kind of a smaller wheel, nice and thick leather on it. Has the stitching, silver stitching going around it to match the R line. And then what I really like about it is it's wide open at the top here, so you can completely see the TFT display. Nothing is blocked. One thing I really hate about some cars is when you set your steering wheel and you can't, it's blocking, like the top edge is blocking some of the display. This does not have that problem. The buttons on the left hand side here are for the cruise control. So obviously those are all for cruise, and then at the bottom here is the volume for your infotainment. So radio, music, whatever you need to adjust the volume on. This does have active cruise control, so that is where you set your cruise control and you set the distance between your car and the car in front of you, and the car will speed up and slow down and keep that exact same distance between the cars. The M does not have that, and that's really because there's no radar transponder in the front of the M to be able to do something like that, because of all the other stuff they have going on in that car with the cooling and everything. This car, like I said earlier, has it behind the VW logo, and so because of that, it does have active cruise control. So that is a plus for the Golf. On the right hand side here is the controls for the TFT display, so we'll get into that and how you change the menus. There's also the controls for the phone, answering calls, hanging up calls, and the up and down buttons are just for going through menus and things like that. And then down below here is how you change tracks or stations or whatever your mode is that your infotainment is on, back and forth. I don't like this as much as BMW's. BMW's has a nice setup where everything is on one side, the volume is right there up and down, and they have a little scroll wheel that you use to scroll through your music. You can't really scroll through the music here easily. You have to hit the button one at a time to go through each of your items, and you can't see the entire list. The BMW lets you see the entire list of all your songs, and you can quickly scroll through them to get to one you want. This one you have to keep hitting the button once until you get to the song that you want, and you can't see the whole list, so you don't know how far down your song is. So I think this could be redesigned a little bit better. I mean, functionally it works, and of course I'll get used to it just like you do anything else, but it'd be nice if it had something like that. And then on the side here is where you place your key if you have an emergency, like the key fob is dead and you still have to start the car. You just put the key next to that little symbol and it'll start the car. On the left hand side here is the adjustment for the tilt of the wheel and telescoping, so you can pull the wheel in and out and up and down. It's just a manual, just like it is on the BMW, so no change there. It does not have a heated steering wheel, so that is the one thing that is missing that the M car does have on it. The other thing that this car does not have on it, which I wish it did, and I think it's a big miss for Volkswagen, is it does not have heads-up display. So once I got heads-up display on the M, I was, you know, it's one of those features that you always think I can't live without, because it's just a great feature. The speed limit's in front of you. It's really nice because it shows not only speed limit and the speed, it takes pictures of the sign so it knows what the speed limit of the road is, and then it shows you right next to it how fast you're going. It also shows you music as you're scrolling through it. It shows navigation, like whatever mode you're in, it shows it on the heads-up display right in front of you. You don't have to look down. Having said that, this TFT display, since it's so customizable and it's huge, it actually might not be a big deal because everything is right in here, and we'll get to that portion of it so you can see what it looks like. But the display is customizable to what you want it to look like, and everything is inside that one section, so it is pretty easy to read. So it might not be as big a deal, but adding heads-up display to these top-of-the-line Rs would be a big plus for them, I think. So down below here we have the obviously the pedals. They did a really nice job on these pedals. It's actually a little bit nicer than the M. They have this nice stainless steel trim around the footrest pedal, and then the brake and the accelerator. So the pedals look really nice down below here. So +1 for the R pedals. The floor mats are just plain black carpeted floor mats. Really disappointing. They sell the same exact floor mats with the R logo on it and the silver trim going around the edge of the mats, which I have to buy separately. So I ordered those, but they should come with the car. So with the car at this price, they should come with it. The same thing happened on the M. They just put in plain black carpet mats, and you have to actually pay a fortune to get the mats with the M logo on them, which I think were even worse. They were $300. At least the Golfs are only $100. So, but yes, it does just come with carpeted mats, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so one other feature here is the door sills here. Actually, believe it or not, this little strip right here lights up. It's really cool. So it's a little blue light, and of course they have puddle lamps underneath the doors too that shine down. So it has some cool, like, little interior lighting features at night that kind of show up. So I thought that was kind of neat. Alright, so let's talk about the rear hatch. So obviously we got the rear wiper here. And if we open the hatch here, so this is pretty standard on Golfs for years. You have this shelf that pops up. It's removable if you need to take it out for cargo. And then in the back here, we just have the cargo area. There's some cubbies on the sides here for a little storage. They do have these nice little hooks here for grocery bags. They're a little far back, and they're not as nice as the previous generation was, but they do have them there and here, so they do have those. There is a 12-volt power supply back here if you needed it, so that's kind of nice too. And then the bottom here is the trunk, so you can just pull this up, and then there's actually some clips here that actually hold it up, which is kind of nice. So there is no spare in these cars, so that's a little bit of a bummer. Again, they have that sort of that mobility kit where you just have an air compressor and the goo that you put in the tire if you get a nail or something to hold you till you get to your service station. But funny story, I had the car, drove it home from the dealer, parked it in the driveway, and it was a long day, so I went in to make dinner and eat, and when I came out, the rear tire was flat already. So literally 3 hours owning the car, I already had a flat tire. And so I actually just plugged it with a plug that I keep in my car. I keep a little plug set. It's much easier than using that goo and everything else that gets spewed into the tire and wheel. And then I took it in to get it fixed. But you can get some spare tires for these, but you have to get a new trim piece here in order for it to fit, because it doesn't have a little curve cut out. But you can actually get a spare tire. The Euro versions have it that you can get for these cars, so I may do that. But this big unit right here is the Fender subwoofer, basically. So you can see it's huge, and it does give a lot of bass, so it's kind of neat. But the spare tire would actually go underneath this. It's made to do that, and that's what the You take this off here, and then you can put the spare tire in, and then put the fender subwoofer right in center of the spare tire. Otherwise, you have like a bunch of storage space under here if you needed it. And then you basically just push these in a little bit to make the floor go down. I am going to get a monster mat for back here to protect the floor. And then of course you have the standard tether hooks right here, so if you want to hook anything in the back, keep it tied down, you can do that. You can get nets and tie down things as extra options if you wanted to. The other thing I like about this hatch now is they sort of balanced it a little bit better, so when you actually pull it down, you don't have to slam it. You just have to like let it go by itself, and it automatically closes. So you just have to sort of get it halfway down, and it just sort of takes over from there, and then kind of closes by itself. That's of course the little shark fin antenna that's used for all the you know, things like the satellite radio, your phone, and the regular radio, etc. So okay, so when you open up the car and you get in, first thing you see is the car itself, and then it has the mileage, little R logo, and then you have the trip display. And then when you start it up, you get the little welcome, has my name there, and then shows you the car, shows you the doors open, and you get the full TFT display. And so this display is all customizable, which will go through all the different settings and options, but you can change all this around so you have exactly what you want on the screen right here, and you can change it at any point. But there's a ton of information that's being displayed here on this TFT display. Over on the infotainment system, if you have it turned off, then it just gives you a clock, but if you actually turn it on, then you can you know, basically you get whatever the last thing that you had. In this case it's my satellite radio, but you'll be able to change all the different modes with all the buttons and everything, which we'll go over this, because there is so much stuff inside this infotainment display and the TFT display and all the things that you can change on it. So as an example, like the mode button for the different modes of the car right here, if you push this button, every time you push it, you'll see the display just changes, and it has all your different modes, so you can select the different ones that you want to. And we'll go over all the different modes and what they mean, but again, all these displays change based on what you want, and you can have the displays, you know, between the two systems, decide what you want. So if you want the navigation over here, or you want the navigation in the middle here, you can pretty much have it whichever way you want to set it up. So the manual was 400 and some pages. It was crazy, but you know, that's why, because it's so customizable, you can do whatever you want with it. There of course is the temperature for the automatic climate control, and I don't know if you can hear the car, but it's got a nice, really nice tone to it. And of course you're going to have it in race mode because it's a Golf R. Why the heck wouldn't you have it in any other mode besides race mode? And when it's in race mode, it just changes the sound of the exhaust. It sounds awesome. And there's all kinds of features that we'll talk about. The electronic parking brake, it's all automatic. You don't have to do anything with it. All the different features for the car itself. But that's what it looks like when it's started up, and then you have everything functional. So we'll go over all the different pieces of that. Alright, so let's talk about the engine for a second. So this is a turbo sequential injected engine. It's 2 liters, 4-cylinder engine, and it generates 292 horsepower by default. So if you're comparing that against the M's 425 horsepower, seems like there's no contest. However, you have to remember the size of these cars and the different weight ratios. And don't forget, this car is all-wheel drive, which the M is only a rear-wheel drive car. So it makes a huge difference as far as like 0 to 60 times, speed, power, etc. So don't be fooled by just because it's a 4-cylinder engine. It is 4-cylinder turbocharged, obviously. You can see the turbo in the back there. Okay, they have a really nice engine compartment design here. Everything is pretty accessible to get to, so it's actually really nice. The turbo is, you got a lot of space back here if you wanted to change out the turbo for whatever reason. Obviously the air filter for changing that is right here, so pretty easy. The cover pops off to do the oil if you want to add oil to the car. And then you have the fuse box panel here for underneath the actual engine compartment is right here. So it's pretty nice layout design. So it has a insulator pad for the hood for all the heat. So pretty nice design. Oh, one other thing I want to mention is they do have these little sort of corner windows right here between the door and the windshield. It's like a little triangular corner window that they have on these models, which are kind of cool. But from the inside, I don't see how you could possibly clean those on the inside. You can't even get your hand back there to do that. So I am not sure what they're going to look like in a couple of years. You know, because insides of glass get foggy from just the plastics giving off gases and stuff like that. So looks cool, but I'm not sure from a cleaning standpoint how you'd even get in there. You'd have to like get a sort of a stick on a rag or something. I'm not really sure. But so that could be a little iffy when we get to that point, but no big deal. Okay, so when you pretty much get in the car, to start it up, basically you're just kind of put your foot on the pedal just like any other car, and you're going to hit the start stop engine button. Okay, so if I hit start stop, car starts up, get all my gauges, tells you if the doors are open, what your status is, and then again you have your infotainment system. Okay, now if you notice right now the electronic parking brake is lit up. That means it's on. Okay, and normally you would have to just push it down to deactivate it, or you can pull it up to activate it. But what's nice about it is you don't even have to worry about it. It automatically engages when you put the car in park, and when you put the car in drive and you actually start moving a little bit, it'll actually release the parking brake for you, which is kind of nice. Okay, the car is beeping right now because I have the doors open and I tried to put it in drive. Okay, but when you have the parking brake engaged and you have your doors closed and you're ready to go, you don't actually have to think about releasing it. It will automatically release the second you give the car a little gas, whether reverse or forward. And that is kind of a cool feature. I really like that, because that way the parking brake is always engaged. You never have to worry about it, and always just engages by itself. And then you have the auto hold button right here, which you can turn on and off. And basically the auto hold is so that when you're at a stoplight or on a hill or anything like that, you can actually take your foot off the brake and it will hold the car until you hit the gas again. So if you have to come to a complete stop, but once you're at a complete stop, you can take your foot off the brake pedal if you want to, and it holds the car until you hit the gas, and then it'll automatically release and let you go forward. So I'm not sure if I'm going to use it that much. You have to, I think, we'll have to try it out, but I think you have to turn it on every time you get into the car, so that could be a little bit of a pain, but that's kind of what it's for. Over here you have the auto, that A off there is to shut off the auto start. So that's where, of course, you have the come to a stop, the car shuts down to save fuel, then the second you touch the gas pedal, the car starts. Okay, that's the dumbest feature in the world. I hate it. It's on my BMW also. I turn that thing off. They have a nice little button sort of like this that you can turn it off. What's nice about the M though is that it's permanent. Like if you shut it off, it stays off until you turn it back on again. This one, you actually have to keep turning it off every time you get in and start the car. However, I did find out that if you're in racing mode or custom mode or in S mode, which we'll talk about, then it automatically is deactivated for you. So of course, why would you be in anything else except for race mode? You're in a Golf R. So for me, that's not going to be a problem. I thought it was going to be a pain, but now after I learned that it automatically is disabled when you're in race mode, then we're good. That, of course, is for the electronic stability control. If you want to shut it off for some reason, I don't know why you ever would, but that is the button for that. Golfs have had that on that for years. And then, of course, the mode button lets you switch between the different modes. Now, these are preset modes, and then you have one custom mode that you can make your own settings on, which we'll show you how to make your own custom mode. And then over here on this side is the park distance control. So every time you hit that, it'll change the display for the cameras. You can turn that on and off. Of course, it comes on and off automatically for you when you're in reverse or coming forward to like up to a curb or something like that, and you're about to hit it. It will automatically engage by itself, but that's if you want to turn it on and off manually. Again, there's no button. It'd be nice if the home link button was right here. You could just hit it to open your garage door. There is a company that sells a kit that you can get a replacement panel here that would have that button in it, and then you use their module to open the garage door. It's the same company I used for the Rabbit to put home link in there. So we'll see what, I don't know if I want to spend all that money. It's like $200 for the kit to do that, or I could actually just cut a little hole right here and put the old one from the Rabbit, the button in there, and it would do the same exact thing. So we'll see. But they do make one that fits in there, looks factory, and you can't tell the difference. Alright, so why don't we start going through the different options inside the TFT display, and then we'll go through the different options on the infotainment system. Okay, so we'll do just a quick 2-second video here on the just running the car real quick. We're going to do a driving video so you can do it, but I just want you to hopefully be able to hear the engine sound. So I am currently right now in if I check, I'm in custom mode, which is the one I set, which is basically race mode with one little change I made to it. So you're in the full mode, and we're going to put it in drive, which you can see right there, and then we're going to put it in S mode. Okay, and we're going to take off here and just sort of listen to the car. And again, we're in, the parking brake is on right now, but the second we start moving forward, it disengages, which is really cool. So listen to the engine on this one. So, sounds really good. Okay, so let's talk about the digital cockpit display and how you change all the views on it. So basically, on the steering wheel, you're going to use the button right here to change it. You're going to use the paddles left and right, the OK and the up and down buttons. And what's going to happen is when you use those, you can change how you want the display to appear. So the first thing you have to decide is, in the center of those two dials, the tachometer and the speedometer, you can decide what you want inside there as far as its display. So when you hit the paddle on the steering wheel, you get to the views menu, and it has these 5 choices right here that you can choose. Each one of these choices will change what is displayed inside the dials. So right now you can see I have gear and speed, which on the left shows me the gear I'm in, and then on the right the actual speed I'm going. Economy and range, economy, navigation, etc. So if I pick like economy and range, for instance, you can see the interior of the dials change. So over here it's showing me my average miles per gallon, and on the right is showing me basically the range I have left till empty. Okay, so that's the first thing that you choose off the main menu, is you choose on your view menu what you want to see. So like if I pick navigation, you can see that on the left it's showing me how far, you know, what my height is against sea level, and on the right is the compass. Now, if I was actually driving and I had navigation active because I was going someplace, the center of the dials would actually change so that it would show me, like, for instance, my next turn or whatever it may be. So the mode that you see when you're standing still as opposed to when you're driving changes based on whatever selection that you chose. So if it's the kind of selection that would change during driving, then it will change inside the dials. So that's the first thing you want to set inside your views menu. You got to pick which one you want. Do you want to see the driver assist systems active inside those menus? So if you select that, on the right is the compass again, on the left would be some kind of driver assist, whether it's lane departure or whatever's going on at the time. It'll change based on whatever's happening. So in my particular case, I like the gear and speed one, and that's the one I chose. So on the right it shows me my actual speed in a number, right? So I know how fast I'm going. I don't have to look at the dial and try to figure out between each of the little hash marks on there. And on the left it shows me the gear I'm in and if I'm in drive or sport mode or whatever it may be. So that's my main view inside the dials. On top of that, you can also select menu choices at the top. So as I scroll through here, you can see at the top there, besides the views menu, we have these other menus. Audio, there's a telephone, vehicle status, there's a lap timer, driving data, assist systems, navigation, and then back to the views menu. So what happens with these menus is these are the displays that appear in the center between the two dials when you select those. So for instance, if I go over to the navigation view and I select that, you can see inside the two dials I get the map. And if I use the up and down arrows, it actually will zoom in and out of that display depending how close I want it. And then also you can select the OK button and it'll actually shrink the dials down and give you a bigger map. So if you like to see the map and a little more real estate on the map, then you can shrink the dials down, or you hit OK again and then it'll make the dials bigger. So you have to pick one of your menus. So for each of your menus, I should say, you can pick the default you want for that menu, and then every time you switch that's what will appear in the center display. So for navigation, there's really no choice as far as that goes. It's just, it will show you the map, right? And if you're actively driving with navigation on, then it'll give you the turn-by-turn directions and all that kind of stuff. If I switch to, for instance, the audio menu, then you can see it will show me what's currently playing on the audio. So right now it's Sirius Satellite is playing, and that's the artist and the channel. If I use the up and down arrows, then I can switch between my presets. So any preset I have for whatever the source is, I can change. And also, if you notice, I can go up to sources, hit OK, and I actually could change the source to something else. So my iPod, I could go to the regular radio, depending what I wanted to. So if I go to the iPod, okay, and then basically now that I have that source selected, I can go to my playlists, artists, depending what I'm trying to find, right? So if I want to go to my playlists, oops, wrong one. Go back to sources. And you gotta be, if you hit it too many times, it's really sensitive. So sources, okay, gonna go down my iPod, playlists, okay, then I can go to whatever I want. So if I want my all-time favorites, and then I can basically scroll through those to find what I want. Now, this is really handy because they don't have a little scroll thing on the steering wheel to scroll through your playlist. So this is kind of the way you do that if you want to scroll through your lists and just get right to a song, whatever it may be, right? Okay. Now, you can switch between, and that's for each menu, right? So on the audio menu, whatever the current source is and whatever you switch to is what will display there. And then you have the up and down arrows to go inside there when you're on that menu. On the telephone menu, if my phone was here and it was connecting, then I would have my choices for contacts, making a call, all that kind of stuff. The vehicle status just shows me its current vehicle status, so there's really nothing to change on this menu. The lap timer is if I want to start a lap time, you can do a start. You can see your last lap time since start, statistics, all that information is available on the lap timer. The driving data lets you set things like, what do I want to see when I select this menu? Do I want to see my oil temperature, my speed, economy, range? So if I leave it set to range, basically every time I come to this menu, it would actually show me my range. Okay, so that's my default for this menu. So for each of these menus, like assist systems, you can see if I go there, I can turn on and off different assist systems. And you can see, like, if you notice, when I turn off lane assist at the bottom there, the little lane assist icon disappears. So I can actually turn it on and off. Okay, but for each of the systems, like on this particular menu, it will default to whatever the current assist system that needs to show. So if I'm about to hit something, if I'm veering out of my lane, or I got a blind spot, something, whatever it is, that's what will show up inside the center menu when it's happening. That's just navigation again, and then back to your main views, which is what's inside the two dials. Okay, so you can pick the different choices, but once you set your defaults for each one of these menus, then it's really simple to switch between them if you needed some information. So by default, I have my audio on here because I find it much easier to select when I change my source, whatever it may be. So let's just say, my source is my iPod, whatever it may be. Then it's much easier for me to go into the menus, right? And then when I'm on the audio screen, go into the menu itself and go to my playlist or find an artist or something and be able to scroll, whatever it may be. So whatever menu I happen to be on, if I want to scroll through the different songs, I can find them a lot easier than having to use the dial on the infotainment on the right hand side there on the main screen. But again, you can select whichever you want as your default on each of these menus, and then you just use the button to switch between the menus anytime you want to. So at the bottom there, it would always have the same information as far as trip mileage and your odometer. The top will always have the compass, the time, and the temperature. At the way top here is some indicator lights that would light up if there's any kind of issues or problems. Obviously it's telling me I'm in park right now. Of course, you have your on the lower left there is your temperature, coolant temperature, and on the right is the gas gauge. So, but what's really nice about it is that you can set what you want in the center portion of the display and inside the dials. But you're not locked into going into multiple menus to change the center portion. You just hit the button on the steering wheel and the center portion will change. And remember, whatever default you set for that particular option is what will show up in the center portion. So if I'm doing if I'm driving and I want to use the navigation and I don't want to use the big map on the right on the center display, I just want to see it right in front of me, I can choose navigation real quick, make it a little bit bigger, and I'm set to go. And you don't have to go through a whole bunch of menus to change it. So I don't know why Volkswagen doesn't have this on every single one of their cars. It's a great digital cockpit that you can change and make your own. And it's much easier to read, in my opinion, than the regular mechanical gauges, especially speedometer. I love digital speedometers. I hate to read the speedometer gauge and always try to figure out how fast you're going in between the main numbers there. So, but that is the what Volkswagen calls their digital cockpit display, and how you can change all those different settings. That is sort of tame compared to the infotainment system, which is has so many settings in it, which we'll go over next. Okay, so next we're going to review VW's infotainment system. This is new for 2018. This is a new design on the 2018 models. Has a 8-inch touchscreen display on it now. It's completely flat except for 2 knobs that are on the either side of it. Otherwise, everything is touchscreen. They do have these little sections right here where you can see it says radio, media, voice, info, etc., which would have been buttons on the old version. Now they're just quick shortcuts to the touch screen. But So let's start up the system here. You'll get the VW logo, look at the R, little Fender Audio logo, and then it'll come to whatever your main screen is here. In this case, it's my last one, which was the satellite radio screen. So basically, for each one of these buttons that you see on the screen here, each one will do different things, obviously. So radio button, if you click the radio button, it gives you the FM radio in this particular case. And most of the buttons on the screen are pretty self-explanatory. You can change channels just by going up or down. You can do your presets here. And then at the bottom here, they have a bunch of buttons. And when you hold your finger close to it, you can see the buttons pop up with their descriptions because it has a proximity sensor on it whenever you bring your hand close to the screen. So for instance, on the band, I could select this and then switch to like Sirius XM, and then it would bring up the Sirius XM presets. If I like to change the view on this, I can go to the view menu and I can actually just show now playing instead of the presets, and it would give you the information on that particular channel. Or you could change it to the channel info, depending what it is. I'm on the satellite, so there's no signal. I'm in the garage here, but let's switch it back to FM, for instance, and pick one of these channels here. And then when you hit your view, you do now playing, you get, you know, if there's any artwork that goes with it, or the artists and the song title, etc. So you can change the views however you want it for each of the different bands. You can also hit the station list, which will just list all the stations, and then you can use the actual dial here to scroll up and down if you want to. And then if you find one you want, you can just actually just push the dial and that will select it. You can also hold it down once you select it and come back to your preset view, and then just holding a button down will set it as a preset there. So pretty self-explanatory. You can also tune manually, so if you hit the tune button, you can just go up and down with the dial to tune manually. If you're in the if we go back to the satellite radio, the tune lets you just type in the channel number if you happen to know it. So depending on which mode you're in, the screens change depending what you're trying to do there. But you can manually tune, you can search for it. In the satellite radio, there's this extras button that lets you actually store an artist or a track. So if you like an artist or track that's playing, you can actually hit store or hit that similar content there. It'll actually then give you suggestions for other stations that have that artist or similar song type or content type. So you can have all these different types of things in here. If you're in your, you can also, when you're in the radio view, you can also do iTunes tagging. So if there's a song you like or an artist, you can tag it so you can remember it later, and it'll store it in your iPod. So it has all these different settings at the bottom. The settings button, which is on every menu, basically will change based on whichever menu you're in. But in this case, it's talking about, you know, if you want to change the sound, the subwoofer, the bass, the mid, the treble. It does not have an equalizer in it like the M does, but like I said, the Fender sound is so good on this, I don't think I'm going to need it. So I don't think that's a problem. But for the volume settings, you can change all the different bass volumes for all the different things, like the navigation, voice guidance, voice operation. If you want to increase the sound based on the speed you're going, all these different things are in here that you can set. You can, you know, turn these different things on and off, like if you don't want voice guidance to come on while you're in the middle of a phone call, those different types of things. So all those things are in there. You can filter your channels. So if there's channels you don't listen to, like I'm not a big fan of Christian or sports or stuff like that, you can uncheck them so that when you bring up your channel list, they don't show up there. So it's all customizable basically. And at the top here, then it'll always show things like the time, if you're muted or not, Bluetooth, your battery of your phone, your signal of your phone, all that stuff will be on the top bar all the time. Now the one piece that's sort of missing from here is there's no mute button. You have to actually use the dial here. If it's all the way down to the left, you'll see the little mute icon and it's muted. But otherwise, there's no button you can just quickly hit to mute. That's a a miss. I mean, to turn a dial all the way down, if you need to talk to somebody real quick or whatever the situation is, it's really kind of a pain. So I'm not sure why they don't have a mute on this brand new system, but they missed that. Let's see, and that's it for the radio, I think. And so for each of the bands, of course, you can select your presets, and you notice there's 3 little dots here. That means that you can scroll over to up to 18 presets per band. So if I go back to satellite here, basically for each one, whatever station I'm on, there'll be the same thing. If I go to my preset view, then you can see I can scroll through my 18 presets that I have for the satellite radio. Alright, the media button, if you click that, that is for obviously anything that's connected to your system. So in my case, down below here, I had the iPod in that little cubby connected to the USB port. If you put your phone in there and it has it's an Apple, you can Apple CarPlay. If you have an Android phone, it'll do Android, whatever the name is for the Android CarPlay. But same thing here. In this particular case, I can repeat tracks. I can do random tracks. At the bottom there, I have my source selection. So you have all these different sources. You can do it does still have a CD player in the glove box. You can do SD cards, USB ports, Bluetooth audio, auxiliary ports. So you have all these different ways that you can connect things to the car. So you can pick your different sources, whatever it may be. On your selection screen, depending what it is, in this case it's the iPod, so when you select these things, and it'll go down to playlists and artists and all this kind of stuff. So, you know, depending what you're picking there, your playlist, then you can actually use this to scroll through if you want to, and then push to select it. This would also appear on the center display here in the instrument cluster if you had audio as one of your choices there. So there's different ways to get to your music depending what you're trying to do. You can see at the top here it's listing a bunch of folders, so if you hit those, it'll go back up to the folder list, so you can switch between all these different things, just like any computer. At the bottom here, again, you have the selection choice. So again, same thing, you can choose by the different options for like genre or artist or whatever it may be. Previous, next, and play. You can pause. That's sort of like the mute if you're on the if you're connected to some kind of a device, then you sort of have a mute by doing pause instead of having to turn the button down. But they don't have anything for the radio. And then your settings button is pretty much the same with the sound. Now, you can't set your sound settings to each individual input, unfortunately. It's all or none for every input. But like I said, it's pretty good, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. And then you have your Bluetooth if you want to pair your device with the car. And down here you can see your different options here for if you put an SD card in or USB or whatever it may be. And by the way, this is a very light touch. You don't have to push hard or touch hard. You barely touch it and it responds. So the response on this is excellent. If we go to the phone, basically it'll connect to your phone, and then you can put some favorites in there if you want to. You can just dial a number directly if you want to. If you had voicemail, it would show up over on this side that you could play. You go to your contacts list, and you can basically scroll through your different contacts in your phone. And then for each of these contacts, whatever it may be, it'll tell you the phone number. You can edit this. You can read the contact name out loud. So it has a whole bunch of stuff related to that. If you want to put icons in there, you can. And then for calls, if you had some calls that came in, it would show you all your listed calls, etc. And then you can do missed calls, dialed numbers, received calls. So if you dialed a number previously and you want to redial it, you can go to dialed numbers and then redial it easily. So it has pretty much all standard phone stuff. There's nothing really special about that. And then you can if you have multiple phones, you can select which phone you want to use. Your Bluetooth, you have a user profile, so you can put in your voicemail number if you want to hear. You can sort by different things. So if you want to sort by first name, last name, depending what you want to sort by in your list. and then you get this little tip. It says don't forget your cell phone. That actually, when you shut off the car, it comes up on the screen that says don't forget your cell phone, so it's a little reminder. So you have those different options right there. On the voice menu, if you click that, this is for voice control. So you can see it's waiting for me to say something. And then it will display examples depending what kind of menu you're in.
Followed by a contact.
So right now, it'll give you little things for like navigation, telephone, media, radio. If you want to know how to say something for the radio, you can see what the difference are. Like if I want to like listen to channel hits 1 or something like that, or change the frequency. So it'll give you some quick voice commands that you can use for each of these different types of things. So for like navigation, you can say, you know, do I want to just go home, my last destinations, I want to enter address, and then when you go in these menus, it just tells you, you know, basically how you can enter this information. Now this is available either on the button here, or you can also do the button on the steering wheel to engage the voice command, so either or. If I go up to navigation over here, so if I select the map on this side to see the map over here, then when I'm on this side over here, it'll actually show me directions. So for instance, if I go back to a new destination, let's say I'm going to this destination right here, I hit start.
The routes are being calculated.
So as it's doing its calculation
Please
here,
select a route. The destination is in the direction shown.
okay, so now I have the map display here, and then over here I'll have the turn-by-turn directions. If I change this map view, then over here, oops, hold on, let me change this here. Over here, the map will show up in the center cluster right here, and then on the right hand side is where I'm going to get my turn-by-turn as each turn comes up, basically. So it'll show me what's going on. Now I'm not moving, so it's not doing anything, but there would just be one display in here that would tell me exactly what it is. So obviously you can do your route plan, you can avoid routes, stop your route guidance, put in your destinations, your home address is already stored in there, points of interest if you want to find like a gas station. You have your different views, so you can do 2D, 3D, you have your starting view, ending destination view. If you want to hear traffic information, you have all these different choices on here. The voice guidance, you can mute it if you needed to.
Voice guidance volume.
And then you can change the volume on it. And then on the settings menu, you have different route options, how you want to default to, you know, do you want the fastest, most economical route, you know, whatever it may be, and avoiding highways or ferries or things like that. So
the route is being calculated.
Fuel options, you can select a preferred fueling station. So if you have a particular type that you like for whatever reason, like I use Shell for most everything, so. And then if you're looking for those, they'll be on the maps.
Please turn left after a quarter of a mile onto the Delaware 7.
So you can see here, right in the display, it's giving me the turn-by-turn direction because the map is over here. If I switch that view, now you can see the map is in the instrument cluster, and over here I'm getting the turn-by-turn direction. So you pretty much can have it set up any which way that you want to. Oh, and then on the display right here, you can also set in the map itself. So if I'm on the map view, do you want to see the arrow just always pointing north so the map will actually turn? Or do you actually want to see the actual direction you're going, so that, like here, it's telling me I need to turn right, so it's to the right, so it's much easier for me to read, I think, because I say, oh, I know I'm going to the right, and then I know I'm going left. If this was in the north direction, then you can see it's always pointing that direction, and you kind of like get disoriented of which way you should be turning. So I prefer that other way. Same thing with the zoom here. You can zoom in and out of the map if you want to. And it also has this little express zoom feature where you hit it and it just does a quick zoom out. So you can see overall what's going to happen. And then after a couple seconds, it will go back to its normal display. So it's like an express zoom type of thing, they call it. So pretty standard on all the navigation systems. So nothing spectacular there. Okay, but the big deal is that you can decide which way you want it inside each of the two displays. On the app view, this would just show your available devices that you have. And in my case, it's the iPod right now, right? And then if you had the phone connected, you would get Apple CarPlay, which we'll set that up and show that. But there's some info here on your device, and then there's also some settings that are available just for that one. As far as the car goes, this is just the car itself, some of the systems. So that's the tire pressure monitor. If you want to reset it after you set your tire pressures. This is just the vehicle status if you have any kind of problem. You can see you can have different profiles here for different drivers. So each driver can have their own profile, and it can be linked to the key so that each key does its own. When you get in the car, it sets all the settings for each person. And that's pretty much it on that portion of it. On the bottom portion here, you have the radio and the selection of the different types of displays you want. So you can have vehicle status. They have this sport, which gives you a lap timer that you can start. Energy consumers. So it's just telling you what's consuming the most energy in your car. Right now it's off. The car's off, so it's in economy mode. But driving data. So it gives you all the information since your last start, how many miles you have till empty. The Think Blue Trainer, I can't remember exactly what the manual said, but it has something to do with, gives you all your status as you, to help you get, I think, the best gas mileage and performance by showing you all these statistics. And you get like a little score and stuff like that. It's like a little training thing. And then you have the, again, the vehicle status. So that's under the car menu. And then under the main menu here, then you have all these icons here for each of the different things. So like if I hit radio, you're basically getting the same stuff that you saw with the main buttons there. So most of these are the same. Telephone, you're getting all the same type of stuff. So media, the vehicle, same thing as the car. Navigation, the app connect, which is the same thing as the app button. So all that is the same. These are a little bit different here. So we have the traffic button. So this would give you traffic reports. And then you can select your route or all traffic reports depending what you want to see, and they would all show up here on the right hand side here and show you on the map where there's traffic problems. And then the travel link. This is kind of cool. You have all this information at the bottom here. You got traffic, just like you saw before, but you also have weather, so you can see the weather map. And then you can do a radar map, isobar map. You have all these different types of maps that you can choose from. And then you can also do, it shows you the local weather plus 3 hours, the temperature, and what it's going to be like in 6 hours, etc. Under the weather info, you can see it for the week, daily, hourly, the current weather. So it gives you all that different information. Right now I can't read it because I'm in the garage, so, but once you're outside and the satellite's connecting, you would see all that different information for the different things. So you can get your daily weather, see what the weather's going to be like for the week, temperatures, and all that kind of stuff. It has sports, so if you're into sports teams, you can pick your different types of sports, and you can also pick actual favorite teams and set those up inside the system. Let's keep track of those. Movies, you can see movie theaters. It'll give you in your immediate area or in the vicinity of where you're going. You can show the entire list of movie theaters. And then if you click one of those, it'll give you information on that movie theater. It would if I was outside, but it'll give you all the information of movies and everything that's going on. So if you're trying to find a movie theater, you can also just find it by the name by directly entering it in the system. So it has all those different types of features depending what you're searching for. And then the fuel prices, that's basically you're looking for your fuel prices in your different gas stations. So if you want to get the cheapest price for the station that you want, you just go down, see what they are, and then pick your station. And if you pick one of those stations and you want to go to it, you can actually just hit start. So if you don't know where it is, you can just hit the start button and then go to it, and you can actually store that permanently if you want to. And they actually have route options too that you can change around, which goes back to the navigation portion of it. So you have all those different choices within that that menu. And then if you scroll over one menu, you have the sound menu, which we saw before, so that's still the same. You can set your subwoofer, bass, mid, treble. Again, there's that big subwoofer in the back, so be careful with this, because I turned it up and the car was just like rattling like you wouldn't believe it. There was so much bass. So and then the images, I have no idea why you'd ever use this. This is if you have like some photos on your phone or your SD card and you want to put them in. You can actually do that and display them on the screen. I mean, I don't know why you'd do something like that. You have it on your phone, why do you need to push it onto the car? But it's available. That's what it's for. The climate control, this basically shows you the climate control as it's operating. So if I turn on the car for a second here, and I turn on the climate control, let me turn the air down because it's probably going to push against the speaker on the thing here, but you can see you get all the little air vents showing you where the air is coming out of, the temperature. You can do the sync. If you want to change it to auto, max AC, it's the same thing that's down here on the dials and the buttons. It's just a different way to get to it, but that's pretty much it. Alright, okay, and then the last option here is the settings menu. So this is just for, you know, your display. If you want to change the brightness, you know, menu button tones, animation when you're, you know, putting your finger near the screen, all that kind of stuff. Setting your time and date, whether you want to do GPS, daylight savings, all those different types of things for the dates and everything, setting your units, etc. So pretty much, let's see, voice operation here, you can decide if you want all these different tones to happen when you're doing your voice control. Setting your Bluetooth devices, all that standard information on the settings menu. So pretty much everything is inside that menu. Okay, so let's see, the other thing is the mode button. So on the mode button, this is where you're selecting all your different driving modes. So these affect the suspension, the steering response, the transmission shift points, the accelerator response. So all those things are affected by these different modes. So when you hit this mode button down here on the display, you get these different choices. And for each of the choices, every time you hit it, it'll change to different modes depending which one you want. Now, for the modes, the economy, comfort, normal, and race are all preset. So you can only just see by hitting the info button what they're set to. And it'll tell you for each of these settings what it's set to. So the dynamic chassis control, how the steering is set, the drive system, which would affect the accelerator response and the shifting of the transmission, the active cruise control response, the adaptive front lighting, the climate control, and then the engine sound. So it has all these different settings here. So for each one of these, it does different things. So economy does, you know, obviously makes it the most economical as far as fuel savings goes. The comfort mode to be for like long drives on the highway. You want to just comfortable ride, easy shifting, comfortable suspension, steering, etc. The normal would be everyday driving, sort of a balance between the two, and then race, of course, is the one we want to be in, race mode, which has all the more aggressive settings in it for steering and transmission shifting, accelerator response, the engine sound, etc. But you can also make one custom mode. So this is your own that you can make, and then the adjust up here allows you to select the different choices for those things. So for instance, on the steering, I want race mode, but on the dynamic chassis control, I wanted the comfort instead. So you can change all your different settings depending what you want. Things like the climate control and the active cruise control, they change based on, you know, your settings, so that, for instance, if you have active cruise control set, you don't want it to be too aggressive when you're in race mode, because it'll, when it's trying to speed up and slow down, it'll probably have to shift into a different gear, and then the car will sort of like lurch forward and back depending on how it's trying to speed up and slow down. So if you leave it in normal mode, even though everything else is in race mode, then it'll behave better when you're actually in the active cruise control mode. So you can reset all these settings. Now you only have one. The M has 2 custom settings you can make, but this only allows 1. So if you have multiple drivers, you'll have to sort of make a decision who gets what. But that allows you to make your own. So I leave it in custom mode, and when I do that, because it's in either race or custom mode, the automatic start stop is automatically disabled, which is nice. So if I start the car up here, and I put it in drive, you can see it goes right to S mode right there. So I'm in S mode automatically because that's my custom mode setting, and I don't have to change it. If I go down to the shifter and I move it over to the sequential mode, then you notice that it changes in the display here. Now I'm in manual mode 1. So now I have to manually shift the car, either using those paddle shifters I showed you before, or you can use the shifter in the center console, either one. But you can change between like sort of a automatic mode and the manual mode. And then in each mode you can change it. Like this is in S mode right now. I could change it to basically back to the normal driving mode if I want to. So that's economical. You can see comfort, normal, race, and you notice the tack just zipped up a little bit when I put it in race mode. And then so you can pick all your different modes. So if I go back to economical mode, you see the tax just went down a little bit. So each one of these will affect the car's characteristics for all those different things you saw in the menu. So that's what the mode button does. The BMW has basically the same settings, except they let you customize on 2 different buttons which way you'd want it, and then it has a default set of settings that always happen when you start the car. The one difference here is that whatever mode you set is the mode it's going to be in the next time you start the car, whereas the M actually, every time it defaults back to its lowest settings, and then you have to hit a button to put it into whatever mode you want to. So that's the one difference between the 2 different vehicles. Alright, so I think that's the end for the infotainment section and all the controls on the inside of the car. Oh, while we're here, I can actually push the park assistance if you want to see it though. But if I click that, you can see I get this view of the car itself, front and rear. So it's giving me all that different information, and you have these different choices on the screen here. It's saying, you know, don't forget to look, is it safe to move? So and then you can always just shut it off. So whether you want to turn it on or off, or to be it automatically comes on every time you put it in reverse, or you're coming up close to like a curb or something like that, the front will actually come on. But if you want to manually turn it on, you can. And then when you shut off the car, the little car drives around here, shows you your last stuff, and then basically when you open the door, you get this little message: please do not forget your cell phone. Alright, so let's we'll hook up all the cameras here, and then we'll go for a quick drive. Oh, I did forget one thing. So when you do hook up your iPhone or your Android phone, depending which one it is, you will automatically get connected to, in this case, it's Apple, so it's CarPlay. So you can see I've got my CarPlay menu. you know, phone, music, you have all the standard CarPlay stuff. CarPlay is pretty much, you know, pretty much standardized across everything. So you have all your different information. You have your text messages, music, your navigation with Apple Maps. So depending what you want to use, it'll show you your signal and your Wi-Fi, the time, and then of course you can go back to the main menu. So this is all pretty much standard. There's a Volkswagen choice on here, which I'm not really sure what this choice is for. It just shows you the main menu, that settings menu that we were there before. It just shows your iPhone connected, and that's pretty much it. So, but if you had the Volkswagen app, the VW Net app activated, which I don't yet, then you have some more options available. Podcasts, audiobooks, and of course you have then the anything that's available available on Apple CarPlay would then show up here. So that's pretty much standard for Apple CarPlay. So you can either use Apple CarPlay or you can use all the stuff that's in the car. You don't need Apple CarPlay. And pretty much everything like music, maps, everything is inside the car itself. The only thing you don't get would be messages, for instance, or podcasts, audiobooks, WhatsApp music, that kind of stuff wouldn't be part of the car. But if you're not using any of that stuff, then you really don't need to hook up your iPhone. I have my iPod pretty much always connected. So it really depends on what you want. But CarPlay is available. It's part of the system if you wanted it. Alright. Alright, so first we'll just be in S mode here. Beep was we hit 65 already, so there's a little warning there. And that's pretty much, I mean, it's got tons of power. It's like a little go-kart. If we put over in manual mode, I'm in, now you can see I'm in gear 5. Coming up to a stoplight here, so we can start downshifting. You can see it goes down to 4, 3, take off, upshift. So depending which way you want to do it, it's a lot of fun to manually shift it using the paddle shifters on the steering wheel. Of course, the transmission protects itself, so if you're doing something ridiculous, like you're putting it in a gear where it shouldn't be in for the speed it's on, it's going to protect the engine and the trans. Okay, I don't have the air on because it's like 1,000 degrees in here. Let me, hopefully you won't hear it in the mics for the speakers. Try to turn it down as low as I can Now, the only thing I wish the car had was a little laser beam on the front of you, so you could zap all the cars in front of you out of the way, so you could actually drive. Because of course I've got some Mitsubishi in front of me that won't move. So I'm in third gear now, and basically it's just using the engine to brake down the hill. Don't have my foot on the brake or anything, which is kind of nice. Got all these nice windy roads, and you get all these slow pokes on the road. Just awesome little engine, tons of power, sounds awesome, and because I'm in race mode, the steering's like nice and tight. You can of course put it back into regular drive mode anytime. Just move the shifter to the left and it'll switch back to your drive mode, whatever you were before. In this case it's S mode, sport mode. Zip around the corners. So we're going 55 around these corners, so car sticks to the road. A Kia minivan braking in front of us when there's nobody in front of them. Have it in race mode, the way it when it downshifts, you get this little like engine sort of engine RPM rise really quick before it shifts. It's like you get the little zoom zoom, zoom as you're downshifting. It's coming down to first gear. Sounds really good. Tight on this. It's firm, but it's not harsh. So, hey, just a little edit on my driving video. I just realized after viewing all my videos that there was a rattling sound that was coming in when I was accelerating. And it was actually because I had my iPhone in this side pocket in the door, and it was rattling against there. So every time I was accelerating, I was getting that nasty rattle sound, and I don't want anybody to think that it was the car, because it wasn't. It was actually the phone rattling around. So I'm just doing another quick test drive. So, you know, when I was accelerating before, it was sort of giving almost a buzzing, like the exhaust was rattling or something like that, and that's totally not the case. So if I step on the gas, you can hear the engine roaring, but there's no problem with a rattling sound. So these cars are super tight. There's not a buzz, rattle, creak, nothing. So hey, just a quick last minute update. Got my R mats in today. So there they are with the R logo. They got the silver trim going around them. Pretty cool. Those are the fronts. And those are the rears. So really nice looking. Alright, so here's my final review and breakdown between the M4 and the Golf R. So I basically just put a bunch of categories down here of options and different things about the cars. I didn't do every single little thing, but these are all the main ones. Anything that's not listed would be exactly the same between the two cars and standard in any car today, like, you know, anti-lock brakes, four-wheel disc. That's all standard on all cars pretty much anymore today, so at least on performance cars. So, and I just gave a point to each one based on which one I like better, and then have the total at the bottom here. So let's go through them real quick. Body styling. The M4, you know, obviously wins on that. The bodies on the M's are just gorgeous. The Golf R's are nice looking. There's nothing wrong with them, but they are kind of a square box. So it's not anywhere close as far as the body styling goes. Horsepower, the M wins 425 against 292. And same thing with the torque. Although I think the torque is 204 in the Golf, and the torque is 425, or excuse me, like 403 or something in the M4. But you have to remember the weight of the car the Golf R wins out. So when you're talking about horsepower and torque against the weight of the car, it makes a big difference. And so the fact that the Golf is all-wheel drive, that also makes a big difference. So it gets a point for all-wheel drive. Fun factor, they both are great. Lots of fun to drive, so equal there. Tires and wheels are pretty much equal, both 19 inches. Smaller car gets a little thinner wheels, but excuse me, thinner tires, but that's okay. It's a trade-off because the Golf R tires are cheaper to replace as opposed to the M tires. So between the cost of the tires and then the performance from the extra width, I sort of evened it out, so that's okay. Handling, they both handle fantastic. As far as the color goes, on the M4 you have to pay extra to get the kind of colors that you want, in this case a $5,000 option, whereas the Golf R has a nice range of default colors that you can choose from for free. So the Golf gets a point for the color. Price-wise, the Golf gets actually 2 points because it's exactly almost half the price of the M4, which is, you know, almost $40,000. So it's a big difference in price between the two cars. So it gets an extra point for the price. As far as the interior leather goes, you get much better leather and choices on the M4 than you do on the Golf R, which you just don't have any choice at all. You get what you get. Not to say that the Golf R interior isn't nice, because it is, but the M4s get a point for that. As far as the power mirrors go, the only reason the M4 got an extra point for the power mirrors was because they have auto dimming on the side mirrors too, where the Golf only has it on the rear view mirror on the inside of the car. Power seats, the M gets a little bump there too because they have full power on both sides, where the Golf has full power on the drivers but only partial power on the passenger side. The rain sensing wipers, they both have it. The Golf gets a point there because of its ability to just stay on all the time and just come on automatically and not have to hit a button every time you start the car. Auto headlamps, adaptive LED headlights, those are all the same. Auto high beam. Adaptive cruise control, the Golf R gets it because it's not even available on the M4. You just have regular cruise control. Again, because the M doesn't have a space for that transponder on the front of the car, so Golf R gets a point for that one. All the standard stuff, lane departure, blind spot, front collision mitigation, that's all standard. The Golf does have the rear traffic alert, which also will brake the car if it's going to run into or hit something, so that gets a point for that. The M does not have that. It just has the park distance for the rear camera and stuff. And then auto start stop, the M gets a point for that because you can actually completely shut it off if you don't want it to come on every time you start the car, where the Golf you have to be in a certain mode. Although for me it's not a problem because I'm always in race mode, but if you're not always in that mode, then you constantly have to turn it off every time you start the car. So the M gets a point for that. Heated seats are all the same. The M gets an extra point because it does have a heated steering wheel, which is not available on the Golf R. And also it gets a point for the Home Link, which is by default included in the car, where the Golf you have to actually swap out the mirror for one for a pretty high price. The auto dimming mirrors, actually I had that up at the top there, so I'll take that one off there. That's an extra line. And then we got the custom driving modes. The M has more detail in the custom driving mode, so it has the same settings as far as steering, suspension, and the accelerator response, etc. But it also has a whole other set of logic modes for the transmission, which the Golf does not have. So I'm giving it an extra point for all the custom driving modes. Plus you can have 2 presets, and the Golf only allows 1. Brake-wise, they're pretty much the same for the size of the cars, 4-wheel disc all the way around. The M gets an extra point for the heads-up display because they have it available and the Golf does not, which is a really nice feature. As far as the infotainment systems go, the Golf gets an extra point because it's a newer system. The iDrive one that I have is a little bit older now, 2 years old, so the new M's have a much upgraded infotainment system, but I don't have that, of course, because mine is 2 years old now. Apple CarPlay is also included in the Golf, which the M does not have. You have to use BMW's iDrive system. And the instrument cluster in the Golf is much more customizable than in the M, so that gets an extra point. Steering wheel control wise, the M gets the point on that one because of the ability to scroll through your lists and music, which you can't do on the Golf. It's a little clunkier on the Golf. They all have the same comfort access ability to get in and out of the car without the key, etc. Headlight washers are on the M, so it gets an extra point for that, although I never use them. Adaptive suspension, the alarm, that's all the same. The M gets a little point for the true carbon fiber trim. It's real carbon fiber, whereas the Golf uses like a fake carbon fiber, simulated type of trim on the inside. Park assist, that's the same with both cars. The auto climate control, the only reason the Golf gets an extra point on this one is because it has the sync button to sync the passenger and the driver's side, whereas the M is missing that, although BMW's had that for years, and for some reason it got omitted on the M cars for this generation. As far as the control with the app, the BMW, the M gets an extra point for that because it's free. You get the app, you can unlock your doors, lock your doors, you can send direct maps or directions to your car from your phone, whereas on the VW you can still do all that stuff, but you have to pay a fee for it. There's a subscription you have to buy to get that control. Stereo systems, I'm going to give them pretty much equal setting. The Fender system in the Golf sounds awesome. It really does not need any kind of upgrade, but it is 8 speakers, whereas the M Harman Kardon system has 2 subwoofers under the seats, and then it's 12 plus speaker system. So once you upgrade it with better speakers, then it sounds awesome. It's like a concert hall in there, but you do have to upgrade it. So between the two, the ups and downs, I'm just giving them an equal footing. They both have hill assist, and then electronic e-brake is only on the Golf R, so it gets a point for that. As far as the warranty goes, actually the warranty, this should be over here. The Golf has a better warranty than the M. So the M is 4 years and 50,000 miles, and the new 18 Volkswagens are 6 years, 72,000 miles, which is a much better warranty. So let me go up here and take out that one extra thing I had. Mirrors, I think it was. The auto dim mirrors. Take that one out because I have that up top there, so that's an extra one. Alright, so if we scroll down to the bottom there, we're at 15 and 14. The M beats out the Golf just by 1 point. But again, so you got to remember the price of these two cars. So you're talking about a 41,000 car against a $83,000 car, and all the things that you're getting is pretty much equal across the board in these cars. Performance wise, they're fun to drive, and I don't think you'd be disappointed with either one of them. So really it comes down to for the money that you're paying, which do you like better, basically? Are you is it okay to get those extra little features and the styling that you really love for 40,000 more? Or does the Golf R, for a nice price, give you almost the same thing as far as the performance goes, and all the same options and everything that, all the latest tech and everything in the cars? So you have to just balance the price against the differences between the two cars, and honestly, they're pretty close. So if you want to save money, get the Golf R. If you have the extra money, you can get the M4. The other thing about the Golf R is that because it's a smaller car, obviously you can zip around things a little easier and quicker than the M, which is a larger vehicle, obviously. So even though it has great handling and everything like that, you still have to be aware of the size of your car. when you're going around turns or zipping in between things like that. So both of them are a blast to drive, and both of them are fantastic cars, but this just shows you that you don't necessarily have to spend $100,000 to get a great performance car. So with that, I'll end my little review of the new Volkswagen Golf. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you get a chance to drive one, go ahead and try it. It's a fantastic experience.